Oh, Captain, my Captain. This is the Club Fantasy DFS Showdown video. I am the Captain, Joshua Hudson. And Austin, you are my compass, my navigation. You're the one guiding us all through these showdown slates, giving us all the information that we need to set the best showdown lineups and take home some of that fine and fancy DFS money. How you doing tonight, Austin?
Doing good. I like the compass bit. I think I want to be Jack Sparrow's compass, though. You know, I point to whatever your heart desires most, which is in this case, taking down a tournament and winning some cash. So I'm here for it.
I love it. All right, this video here, we are going to be talking the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Buffalo Bills. You will also notice here on the Club Fantasy FFL YouTube page, we have videos up for the Browns versus Texans, Dolphins versus Chiefs, the Rams versus the Lions, the Packers versus the Cowboys, and the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But friendly reminder, you can also play these showdown slates against us. Isn't that right, Austin?
Yes, you can do this. It turns out I learned today only on DraftKings because FanDuel will not let me just create a showdown contest in our FanDuel league. And so, sorry, I don't know what's happening there. But on DraftKings, you can join our league. You can play 3 showdown slates with us, one for each day. We're doing Kansas City, Miami on Saturday, Los Angeles Rams, Detroit Lions on Sunday, and the Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Bad Pass Defense Bowl on Monday night.
We'll get to that video here shortly. Anyway, all right. So Austin says, come play with us. And now he's going to give you the tools to beat us. So these are some fun little segments we put together to kind of break this showdown lineup out. First segment here, it's the chalk play. It is Captain Chalk, the chalky captain that everyone is likely to pick because they are just that damn good. And Austin, we talked a little bit before hopping into this video. You don't like playing quarterbacks here, and a lot of people are probably going to hop on the Josh Allen bandwagon. But you decided you wanted to go with his number one wide receiver who hasn't topped 87 yards over the last 11 weeks. So tell me why you like Stefon Diggs this week.
Oh, I didn't say I liked him. I said he's the chalk captain. Let's be clear. That's so if you've seen these videos before, you know I don't always like who the captain chalk is. And part of that's because it's not always good to play the chalk. You have to assess based on the game context whether or not you want to lean into that pick or not. I think there's a good chance that Stefon Diggs is played pretty heavily in the captain spot just because he still is Josh Allen's number one receiver. And how do you not play Josh Allen's number one receiver? And honestly, I think there is a pathway that at some point in the playoffs, if Buffalo continues going down the path, that we see some regression hit and Stefon Diggs does well. I don't like this week. I think this is a good week to get off of the chalk. I think it's a good week that if Josh Allen is chalk, to also get off of him as the chalk, because we're going to talk a lot about weather in this game, and the weather in Buffalo could be gnarly, and the sports books are already accounting for it and how they're looking at this game. This is one of the lowest totals on the weekend. The total is currently set at like 33 the last time I saw it. It is ridiculous. 36. It's a little bit better. Wow. 36-point total. Not a lot. So not a lot of scoring anticipated. So I would avoid the chalk place this week. If the weather clears up, roll with Steph Diggs.
Here's what I will say. You could still hit the under, and Buffalo wins 30-3. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You basically have 2 great running backs in the Buffalo Bills offense when you factor in Josh Allen and what he's able to do on the ground. So there's that. And let's be honest, are we really betting on Mason Rudolph as a quarterback as a quarterback in a playoff game? Come on. But speaking of contrarian and not liking the chalk plays this week, our next segment is the Mutineer. This is the contrarian captain choice that offers variety and upside in much larger tournaments. Austin, you hit on the bad weather. Let's talk a little bit about that stud running back in Buffalo.
Yeah, so we got James Cook as the contrarian captain choice this week. And honestly, some of this is because of the potential great game script we could have. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they've been hit or miss throughout the season against running backs. So it's not unreasonable to think that James Cook could have a good day. But particularly if it is wet and muddy, they may need to rely on the run game to be successful in this game. And if James Cook scores a couple of touchdowns and it ends up being a nasty 14-10 game, then I think he's a great captain choice to have. What I will say about this is don't read too much into the weather, or be careful how much you read into the weather, because Josh Allen can still sling it in the snow. I still have a very vivid memory of that 2021 New England Patriots Buffalo Bills game in Buffalo where it was snowing, and Mac Jones stood the ball all of 3 times. Meanwhile, Josh Allen was slinging it and putting balls on guys, and they just kept dropping them all game. And that's the reason he didn't have a good receiving line. So I wouldn't get too afraid of the weather, but given that there could be some bad weather, I do like James Cook in the captain spot.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with Josh Allen, right? The reason he's in Buffalo is because he's big and he's got a big arm and he can sling it in these bad weather games, because home games in Buffalo in this time of year, they're bad weather games. You have to be able to still throw the football in these bad weather games. But as we saw in week 18, Josh Allen could very easily just throw for 150 yards, no touchdowns, and run in 2 touchdowns. So
Yes.
like that's still going to provide you a lot of value in DraftKings. But let's talk about the next segment here, the first mate, because every captain needs that reliable crew. And this is kind of where I think we're kind of getting at in terms of where you want to play Josh Allen. But the other standouts that can really help maximize that lineup, we haven't talked about any Pittsburgh Steelers players yet. So let's maybe talk about one. And that's kind of been the only, Steelers running back, I think, like ever that started with 3,000-yard seasons.
Yeah, Najee Harris. Shout out to Najee Harris. You all know I've been high on this guy for a while, but it hasn't really panned out exactly the way I wanted to. But since Mason Rudolph has been under center and Matt Canada is no longer in Pittsburgh, Najee Harris is all of a sudden getting the volume again and becoming that dominant workhorse back. He's kind of been phased out of the pass game in some ways. That's really been almost exclusively Jaylen Warren in recent weeks, but Najee Harris has been doing really well running the ball. And so I like that. I like the opportunities that he can get. I could see him having 20 to 25 touches in this game. And again, because this could be a slogfest, he could pop and score a touchdown or 2. So I think he's a solid part of any showdown lineup this week, especially if you're playing that James Cook strategy where you say that they run the ball a ton and this is just a slogfest. Having the other running back is a viable strategy in this case. I don't often do that because typically if one running back pops, it's the other team. It's because their team is ahead and the other team has to pass the ball to catch up. But because of the nature of why this game might be low scoring and slow, I think playing both running backs is fine. On the other
side, also
lead
to a pivot. Instead of Najee, you go Jaylen Warren because of that pass game upside.
Yeah, I think that's also a great call. On the other side, I do love Dalton Kincaid, regardless of the weather. I think that there's a good chance that he continues to bring in the targets, and because of the weather, we might not see as many deep down the field throws from Josh Allen, especially if it gets windy. So like wind becomes a bigger factor than rain or snow at times. And so what we could see is Dalton Kincaid just posting up, boxing out defenders and getting a bunch of targets that way. I do have to say, obviously, you should be playing Josh Allen a decent amount in your showdown lineups. I'm not talking about him in detail because it's obvious. Everybody knows Josh Allen is great. I think if there's a player that you maybe want to avoid to get contrarian, it is Stefon Diggs, who we talked about earlier. But Dalton Kincaid, he's a great person to have in every single showdown lineup you have.
Love that. Dalton Kincaid's had a pretty solid season this year, especially with Dawson Knox getting hurt. Speaking of Dawson Knox, next category is our deck scrubbers. These are the cheaper punt play options that can make a lineup based on one play and or limited opportunity. And let's talk about Dawson Knox, because I was going through and looking at his price on the DraftKings Showdown, 1.8K. My, how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, the thing about Dawson Knox that gets me is he still is part of this offense. He just was banged up most of the year. And so we've forgotten that he exists. And Dalton Kincaid is the shiny new toy. But we saw last week, Dawson Knox got an end zone target and just muffed and didn't get there. Or was that the one where Josh Allen threw it? No, that was a different player. But he's still getting utilization in this offense, and he has long been a favorite end zone target of Josh Allen's. Again, if this becomes a run-heavy game, you can see the Bills leaning into heavy personnel a lot and then using play action with both Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox on the field out of those looks. And that can lead to Dawson Knox getting open because defenders are probably going to lean towards defending Dalton Kincaid because of the amount of usage he's gotten. So I think he's a great punt play this week. Also on the Buffalo side, I like Khalil Shakir. He's kind of becoming the number 2 receiver ahead of Gabe Davis. And if we look at him as one of these guys that can get some yak opportunities, just some easy, quick throws, and then allowed to run after the catch, I like his opportunity there. When we switch to the Pittsburgh Steelers ties, I really love the tight ends in this matchup. Like I said, I like the idea of them posting up, boxing out defenders, getting a bunch of targets. So I like Pat Freiermuth on the Pittsburgh Steelers side. I'm probably not leaning too heavily into the Pittsburgh Steelers in this matchup. I'll probably have lean into lineups that have 4 or 5 Buffalo Bills players and only 1 or 2 Steelers players. But I think Freiermuth is a great target. And then also on the Steelers side, I love the Pittsburgh Steelers defense as a contrarian play and as a cheap play because of the low total on this slate. And if there were ever a time to play defense, it is in this type of environment where the total is only at 36. So the scoring is low. And the Steelers, they are frisky. They can cause sacks. And Josh Allen loves to turn the ball over. So that means there is going to be opportunities for the Steelers defense to force turnovers. And if those turn into touchdowns, having the Steelers in your lineup suddenly becomes a way that you can get very different.
Keep an eye on the Steelers defense. If TJ Watt misses this game,
yes,
wheels up to the Bills defense, in my opinion, because the Steelers without JJ Watt in the lineup are 1-10. They are not a great team.
Yes, that is a great call. It is heavily reliant on TJ Watt being in the lineup.
So, yeah, just patience on that one because Watt has wrecked all kinds of havoc this year. When he's not in the lineup, oof, big yikes. But Steelers defense outside of Watt is starting to get a little healthier. They did just activate safety Demonte Casey this week as well. Real quick, before we get into the final segment, one more reminder, you can play against us. Hit the link in the YouTube description and come play these showdown slates with us. Austin, remind the people what games we're doing again.
Yeah, Saturday night you have the Kansas City Miami game. Sunday night you have the Los Angeles Rams, Detroit Lions revenge game narrative all around matchup that you can play with us on. And then the Philadelphia Eagles Tampa Bay game on Monday night, only game on the slate on Monday. So you have one for all 3 days of playoff football this weekend.
All right, the final segment. Every hero needs its villain. Every ship needs the Kraken, the lineup trap that sinks the ship. And for the guy that is nicknamed Big Game Gabe, you're staying far away. Austin,
yeah,
why?
I am. 4 touchdowns ain't happening again. I think he got that nickname because of that Kansas City game. Have we really seen him show up since then? Now, I don't want to blame Gabe Davis for all of this because I don't know what the disconnect between him and Josh Allen is, but it's been there. They have not been on the same page at multiple times this season and in very prominent moments. So I definitely don't want to be relying on him in this situation, particularly with the weather. If it's windy, Gabe Davis, he shines downfield when he can take the top off the defense. And I don't think that if it's snowing, if it's windy, we're not going to see those down the field targets. If the weather clears up, again, there could be a lot of contingencies here. You could maybe talk me into it, but I would rather go to someone like Khalil Shakir that I think is going to get more targets and still has the same upside as Gabe Davis.
Keep in mind also with Gabe Davis suffered a PCL sprain during the Week 18 matchup.
Yep.
So he's not likely to be 100% in this game if he does in fact play. One more wide receiver that you don't like in this game, Austin, on the other side of the football, Mr. Allen Robinson.
Yeah, I remember when I was like draft Allen Robinson when he went to the Los Angeles Rams. That was a mistake, and playing him this week would also be a mistake. He just has no volume. He every now and then you'll see him get some attention from Mason Rudolph, and it's like, oh, this could happen. No, it's not going to happen. Especially in this environment, you're going to be prioritizing your elite players, Deontay Johnson, George Pickens. You're going to be grinding the ball out. Like the Steelers have figured out that they need to get back to their identity of running the ball and being stout on defense. And that's just not going to allow a guy like Allen Robinson to get there, even in a showdown slate.
So before I end the show, I just want to bring one thing to your attention. You knew that I was hosting the show. You knew we were talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it took you 15 minutes before mentioning Deontay Johnson. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there. That is Austin Amendola. You can find him at Austin_FFL. Myself, Joshua Hudson. You can find me at the One Hudsonian over on the app formerly known as Twitter. This has been Oh Captain, My Captain, the DFS Showdown video here on Club Fantasy FFL. And be sure to follow Club Fantasy across the socials at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL, clubfantasyffl.com. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Costs you nothing, means everything to us. We'll see you guys for the next video.